Hi guys, welcome back to the James Bond Show with your host Krazy Kajeevie with no fears, limits or substitutes, the bad boy of James Bond. Today I'm doing a dissecting the directing on a scene that has been requested of me probably over the last 2 years, and I'm finally getting to it, and it is the gambling Faberge egg scene from Octopussy, where Roger Moore takes on Kamal Khan, who's cheating in a board game here for lots of money. So you guys have asked me over the years to break this scene down, and recently I've been asked again to dissect the directing. This scene was directed by John Glenn, and I think he's done a wonderful job. Now, what I want to say first of all is there's not a lot of complicated camera angles and setups in this scene. It was filmed in from what I believe, it was a studio set at Pinewood Studios. The reason I mention that is that way they can control the lighting very easily. The lighting can be designed and done within the set. Now, also, I don't talk a lot about lighting or styles of lighting setups for one main reason, because this is not a tutorial to teach filmmakers. This is about dissecting the directing choices that the director, in this case John Glenn, makes. Now, a director will in most cases, design their shot composition with the screenplay, and they will sit down, as John Glenn would do a lot, with their storyboard artist. And often the cinematographer will sit within those sessions, and they will have the storyboard artist draw out those scenes. So the director of photography, his name implies that he does a bit more than what he really does, because in most cases, especially with directors who are making their films, their style of films, not just a director for hire, in most cases, especially writer-directors, they know what they want from the moment they're writing. They see the film when they're writing. Now, often a director who hasn't written a screenplay will go through the script and he will vision it the way he wants to see it. He will then explain to the cinematographer how he sees it, what he wants. And he will be very open, especially a good director will be very open to the experience and the ideas of a director of photography. But the director of photography, I can guarantee you, the director of photography isn't the director of the photography. The director of the photography is really the director who's choosing and always has final say over the shot composition. But the director of photography is there to work with the director to get his vision. And then he works with his grips and his gaffers. Now, the gaffer is basically your head lighting technician, and he will work with him. And that's why I don't feel the need to go into, they're using a 6K light, they're using this light. I don't need to go into all that. What I want to do with these videos is show to you the decisions I believe the director has made and things that maybe you miss in these scenes and what the director's done to give you these moments. Also, what I like to do, and I probably will do in this one, I've gone through it once today just to have a quick look-see, is also show you, and which I have done in other videos, and tell you what I would do. Sometimes I think mistakes have been made, or the director could have made a different decision that would have impacted the scene in a better way. This scene is quite basic with wide angle shots, medium wide angle shots, a few reverse angle shots. There's nothing super tricky, and I think the reason for that is because the script here is so good and the performances here are perfect. So it's about keeping simple shots, shot composition, shot setups, actors framed within it, and letting the actors work. And John Glenn was very good at that. When I say letting the actors work, I mean let the actors take what's on the page and give it to the audience. And when actors are doing that, and the script is simple and effective, there's not a lot of need for crazy angles, or going overboard. And especially like a lot of modern directors do today, constant cutting. So with that, we're going to start at the top of the scene here where Roger Moore, James Bond's coming down the stairs We'll go through this and we'll go right to the end of the scene. I'm also going to include where Bond has drinks with Magda. Now, I'm not going to talk through every cut because a lot of it is self-explanatory. I also, as we're going through this, I want you to enjoy the scene as well. But I will talk specifically about cuts that I think are really effective or why I think the directors made certain choices. So with that, guys, let's start. So we're just moving with Bond. So in a way, we believe that Bond hasn't been in here before. He's wearing the classic white tuxedo like Connery wore in Goldfinger. He comes down the stairs. It's just a smooth, simple shot. That would be on dolly tracking. It's just moved with him, and now John Glenn opens up the frame to show everyone here. Now, right from the get-go, what John Glenn does is he shows you the lead characters here. You can already see Gobinda, Magda, and of course we'll come to James Bond allies. There's his ally, the Chief of Staff in India. Beautiful lighting. It's just, again, like I say, I don't talk massive about lighting, but he's got exterior lighting here that's off the set, which they can control coming through the designed windows there. And it all looks really, really natural. And great production design as well by Peter Lamont. So we can see he's entering here, nice wide angle, and then we see, of course, we see onlookers, and we've got our protagonist here, and we see the villain here, and we see the victim here. Again, just setting everything up. And you can already see the Indian Chief of Staff guy is already making contact. Well, he's looking at Bond, who's entering in the frame there, or pushing through the frame. Now, because he's the focus of attention, Kamal Khan, and what he's doing is villainy, we're already on a medium shot of him. Now, what I really like in this section that comes up within the first pretty much 5-10 seconds from here is they're already showing us, they're telling us more about Magda. And the reason they're telling us, played by Christina Wayborn, the reason they're including her so quickly in the frame is we've only seen her once before at the Sotheby's auction part. And John Glenn is allowing us as the audience to get to know her within this plot quick, because she's going to be the way that Kamal Khan gets the Faberge egg later. So she's a connection to that, because Bond, in a few scenes after this, Bond ends up having dinner with her. So it's important for the director and the scriptwriters to set her up more.
How's he doing?
The Major's no novice, but Kamal has taken 200,000 rupees off him.
You'll have a job beating that.
See, pretty much, like I said, within that 5-second period, and notice the director and his editor, they're cutting quite quickly. They don't want this scene to drag. You've got music, but the cutting's not dragging. The cutting is moving the situation nicely. And again, you probably got like 3 seconds on each cut right now. 1, 2, 3, cut. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though they're sitting down at a backgammon table, whatever it is. I'm not big on card games or anything, or board games, but the director and editor are moving the pace along nicely. Now, I should have just mentioned, on the frame we just saw previously, she's looking down on the victim. He's looking across towards the victim, and look at the smirk. And this is what I mean about this scene. It's all about the brilliant performances but by the actors doing an incredible job. In this case, it's Louis Jourdan, the French actor.
I feel lucky. Shall we double?
Of course.
20,000 rupees.
Now this is beautiful. Again, it's like 1, 2, cut, 1, 2, cut. It's moving it so nicely. And that little bit, most of this would be shot on sticks. Or I think from this angle, even though you don't know it, even though we're not moving, from this angle, it's probably, and you'll see why I say this, on probably a little bit of tracking. even though the camera can be still, if you have the camera on dolly tracking from here, it gives you the opportunity to keep it very still, to keep, even if you're doing little pan ups to different characters, or if you want to then move, you can switch the camera around because this is a big open set. You can switch the camera around, keep those kind of angles and positions. And then, for example, when we see James Bond looking down, he was he was looking down on an angle because he's looking at Kamal Khan. So if you keep the camera on dolly tracks here, you can do all that. It gives you so many options. So there we go. Now you'll notice, guys,
Always a double six.
you know, even when the tension's on this guy, directors are different compared to my From Russia Love train fight dissection. You'll see the difference between directors where Terence Young will direct in a different way and use a bit more. He didn't like close-ups, but he would use medium close-ups where even when the tension's on, we'll call him the general here on this guy, you'll see that John Glenn is still letting the angle breathe. Now, he was a huge fan of Terence Young's work. So, again, he's not big on close-ups. And I'm saying that for a very specific reason. About to... Excuse me, guys. About to sneeze. Now, normally... as I was saying, he doesn't like to do the big close-ups. He likes the scene to breathe. But what he does coming up, I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet, but he does an extreme close-up. And it's towards the end of the scene, and he does it with really great effect. Now, the reason the extreme close-up, which I'll talk to when we get to it, will have more effect is because he's not doing extreme close-ups or too many close-ups now. So then once you see it, it jolts you and it jars your senses and it's more impactful.
You need it.
Always.
How do you do it?
It's all in the wrist.
Oh, it's hopeless.
Shall we have another game, Major? Same stick?
Yes, I'll have another go.
So this is what I meant before, guys, about where you can keep the camera on dolly tracking. You'll start to see now, we're on this angle across here. Now, before when Kamal Khan, we were here, right? We were here with the camera looking. All has to happen there is these actors are moved. These actors are not there, and the dolly tracking is there. Or the dolly tracking is can be moved behind them. Now it's slightly behind because the director's got these guys in frame. He's got Govinda and Magda here, and we're going to move with Magda. The director's going to move with Magda. So with him, if he's got the camera on tracks here, it gives him the ability now to move any way he wants to, which will be heading to right of frame as she heads to the bar.
Your luck's got to run out sometime.
Now, you can also do that. You can do that on dolly tracking, or you can do that just on sticks. Let's work out together what the director's doing here. So I believe because that's so kind of smooth, that's potentially just sticks there, even though it could be on dolly tracking. And it's moved around, and we've now, and I love this kind of direction. I really love it. Spielberg does it a lot too. No, he moves his camera more and brings people into a frame to create a completely different frame. So, for example, a wide angle, he'll move an actor in. Suddenly, he's got the big film scene, the screen, in a close-up. In this case, John Glenn's gone from a wide angle shot, and he's now got the Indian Chief and James Bond in a, well, you would call this like a medium-wide two-shot here, because he's still leaving enough room here, which is telling us about the story that Magda has walked off there. And I'm going to guess here that he's going to close this frame in a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. No, he's kept it there. He's gone for a cut. She's in a, well, you could call this, a wide angle for what it is, and it's setting up this space. It's setting up the bartender here. So Bond comes in left of frame. This is kind of just really stock standard.
Join you?
But it's done well. And sometimes the old ways of doing things well are the best. Simple.
Southerners. £500,000.
So he's on tracks here because they're going to move the camera. And this is beautiful. This is really beautiful classic filmmaking. You can handle close-ups here. You can create close-ups just by moving actors within the space. Here, he's still on this wide. He's got Bond in frame now, so he's on right of frame, good guy. left, centre. She's still kind of centre within the frame. Well, they really kind of both are. But she's kind of the villainous one. She's on the left. And you got, most cases, you got your goodie on your right there.
The man at the auction.
So the camera moves just slightly around here. That's just a slight tracking move. Now what this gives the ability for the director to do on tracks is he can just push in from close-ups here. He can move his camera rig across here on the tracks, and then he can get the reverse angle behind Magda. This isn't a reverse angle, but if he wants, he can then get a reverse angle here of James Bond. And no doubt, I'm going to guess we'll cut to that in a moment.
Precisely.
You have a very good memory for faces.
There you go. So that will be on that dolly tracking. They've moved across here, and now you can punch in. And the reason they direct like this is it saves so much time.
Figures.
And he's using that shot from back here, where we were on that wide. He's just pushed in now. He's just pushed in, and he's got the close-up, medium close-up on her that he wants. I should say medium wide close-up on her.
This can't be a coincidence.
No. What will you have?
Nothing, thank you.
Some other time, perhaps.
And there you go. Still back on tracks here. Frames loosened out. She goes back to the left. Remember, she came from the left as well.
Thank you.
So when she moves her eyes there, you see she looks over. That gives way for her to tell us that someone else is entering frame. They cut, of course, to the chief guy, and Roger Moore enters frame here on the left.
6 on 1, that should fit.
Well, looks like the Major's got him.
Why don't we make it interesting, Major? A double to 100,000 rupees.
I can't
Again, I love the performances here, and we're allowed to see it all. And we're even allowed to see an extra's looking on, because this is getting so much attention. So it's really clever of director John Glenn to leave his frame nice and wide. We see extras looking on, and I would cut in here. Let's see if he does. I would cut in here in a moment a little closer to get his tension, because he's making a decision whether to go on with this game or not.
Not with your luck. You win.
But no, we don't get it. He's given up, and we've just gone to a wider frame, which is now going to allow the director to show James Bond taking up the challenge and coming in. Now, what that does in this big wide frame, it gives us all these players, 1, 2, the main players, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to look in, and then you got the extras also can look in on seeing this.
Well, I would have taken that double myself.
Now, you notice, guys, as soon as Bond says, I would have taken that challenge, watch all the extras look at Bond, because they've been queued up by the director and the assistant director. Now you got to put your focus on Bond. So the director's building up tension by also good direction with the extras.
You win.
So watch here, especially
Well, I would have taken that double myself.
See? And then, of course, the principal character, Bond's now, we're now on a high angle looking down on Kamal Khan. He's still centre of frame. Magda's there. And there's now a little bit, have a look at how wide his eyes are. Look at these. These are eyebrows Roger Moore could be jealous of. He's looking up with concern. He's going to try and stay calm and cocky, but the cockiness has now gone from Louis Jourdan's performance as Kamal Khan.
Then why don't you take over the Major's position? Mr. Bond. James Bond. Thank you, I did it well.
So again, they're most likely dolly tracking, and they've just moved the camera down. They've got like hinge brackets and things on them, and they've just moved the camera down here. That's not even a pan, it's just moving the camera down.
100,000 rupees then.
Not a huge amount of close-ups used here, so he kind of saves them again for one main instance and kind of 2 instances here, but this is just kind of, your average shot there just to show the dice.
6. It was not such a good double to accept after.
I love the way Bond and all the eye line, everything is beautiful. Again, these are professional directors that don't cross the line. Everything is just really poetically done. And I love how Bond looks up at her. This is building, once again, this is building sympathy or an understanding between Magda and Bond. It's building up a connection to work later in the film. Because really, you don't really need her here unless, as the director, you know you've got to build a relationship between her and him. It's not just about the good guy, bad guy, Kamal Khan versus Bond. It's about setting up other characters.
Or was it?
Now, the smartiness has come back from him. Bond's got the look of concern here, but this look of concern is not genuine. Excuse me.
Go. Of course. You can only win with a double six.
Now you'll see, even though he's leaving part of this frame open, he's still got this beautiful focus, and with nice natural looking lighting here too, this focus on James Bond.
Is 200,000 rupees.
And you can see everything's in the performance. Bond's faking this. See the little, I'll go back a little bit. Have a look at the little lip, not lip quiver, but the mouth movement that Roger Moore does. These are decisions that the actors make, and the director would probably be pushing to. It's like him showing a bit of tension, but we know as the audience, he's going to set this sucker up.
You can only win with a double six. The stake is 200,000 rupees. Do you have the cash?
I think that this should be ample security.
Now you see this seriousness in Kamal Khan's face just there. It's so beautiful. Now this is like I was saying before, there are two cases where he uses a close-up. There's one where he uses, the one I was talking about before, he uses an extreme close-up. It's not this. It's coming up, which I'll get to. But now John Glenn is using a close-up here of the hand and the Faberge egg, because this is the point that he's driving home. Also, this close-up here is to affect the bad guy, Kamal Khan, and the next shot you will see most likely, well, the next time we see Kamal Khan, we're going to see tension on his face, and it's because of the work of this close-up. Because remember, this close-up is not for the audience. Well, it is for us as the audience, but this close-up, this is Kamal Khan's close-up. So this is like the director that making the character of Bond, smacking him in the face without smacking him in the face, so to speak.
Don't you?
Now, see how he did cut to, he could have cut to, sorry guys, I'm just trying to get this right here.
I think that this should be ample security.
I'll let this run. Now see here, he could have cut to Kamal Khan's close-up of his face, which would have matched a visual close-up of the Faberge egg, then him. But he hasn't, because what they've decided to do in the edit is they're keeping the cockiness and the danger, the cockiness from him, and then the danger of this situation by cutting to Magda and cutting to other people looking on. Also with the off-screen sound effects of from the extras looking on, which all builds the tension.
Don't you?
So they've cut to her, and she's like, oh, now in her head, we're supposed to see as the audience in her head, she cut him off before at the bar. She wanted nothing to do with him. Now, because of the director's angles and the situation, the comedic in way situation, and the edge Bond has now, which he's doing in a tough but bit with a comedic edge, now she's like, oh, who is this guy? He's got her attention. And of course now we start to really bring, the director starts to bring Govinda in, and look at this. And what I love about these villains is they don't blink. They're just looking so fixated. This is all great direction and great actor choices. No blinking. Now we finally get to see the result of his face. You will see before in the earlier shot, he was up. He was sitting in his chairs. His shoulders were level. This is beautiful direction and beautiful performance, because now Kamal Khan's even more slinked in his chair. The cocky look's gone, and you can see in his eyes he's thinking, oh shit. And the smile is fake. He knows what's coming.
Play, Mr. Bond. You need a great deal of luck to get out of this. Oh, luck. But then I shall use player's privilege and use your lucky dice.
Now he knows he's shagged. And this is so clever again. He's just staying slumped down here.
It's all in the wrist.
And I love the fact that through the direction, the actors don't look at the dice. They're just looking at each other, no blinking.
Double sixes. Fancy that? 200,000 rupees.
Again, just slight little tilt there of the camera brings this guy in here.
I prefer cash.
What I would have done here, it does work that Kamal Khan has looked up his Bond where Bond says, I'd prefer cash. I kind of maybe would have directed in the way of, don't look at him, just stop writing with the pen, and then go back to the pen.
Get it cashed for him.
Yes.
Now, so here we go. We're pushing in here. This, from what I believe, there's no camera movement here. So he's pushing it. This is just a zoom. Zooms were pretty big in the 80s. They really started to 2000 onwards. A lot of directors thought, oh, they were unprofessional. They were more used in comedies and things like this. But to me, this is a well done zoom.
Spend the money quickly.
And you can see the speed of how that moved in.
I intend to. Come.
And he's chosen, instead of keeping really going super close on him or anything, he's kept this still, as I call it, a bit loose in the frame. So there's still a bit of frame around Bond because he's showing relaxation and he's the Mac Daddy with what he's done. So there's no need to go on a tight frame there on Bond.
Khan. My security. And yours.
Now here is where John Glenn, you'll see it, it'll hit you between the eyes, where he decides to use a close-up to epic effect. Not yet, not yet. Zoom, zoom. And wait for it. So the dust of the dice, the crushing dice, this is great. You can see now there is a bit of a look of concern. We're on a high angle looking down on Bond, obviously, because they're trying to give you the fact that Gobinda's using his power, authority, height over Bond. Now that's what you call an ECU. That's an extreme close-up. You pull out from about here to there, you're on a close-up. You push in beyond that and you're covering that area, eyebrows to nose, that's an ECU. That's an extreme close-up, which can come across goofy and comedic, but in this case, I think it's a great choice because it's all about his eyes and anger, knowing that Bond has tricked his master. And from that, that's almost like a Sergio Leone move, who directed the great spaghetti westerns like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Clint Eastwood. He's gone from this extreme close-up, you rarely see it today, unless it's Quentin Tarantino doing it. You've gone to this wide-angle shot showing these guys leaving and Gobinda's still there with Bond. So it's a bit of a ballsy move to do in direction and editing, but it works so effectively. It's great.
It's not really on the wrist, you know.
Now, dolly tracking here, moving along. This is great. We still see the bad guys go off here. And then what John Glenn does is he creates a new frame by bringing characters closer to camera. See, but he brings VJ in.
Should I be following
Gone
it?
from a big
You
wide.
should, but I think they'll be following it.
And now we're in this, I'm going to call this a three-shot. It's still a nice wide angle, but he's got these guys as the focus of the frame.
Thank you.
Vijay will take you from here. I'll stay and see if I can find out anything more about Kamal.
Now, I will say, this is bad script writing to me. I will stay here and see if I can find out more about Kamal Khan. He's the head of this section. Kamal Khan lives there. What more could he find out? This is, and it happened a lot in the 80s Bond. It's kind of bad script writing just to make, to make a convenient excuse for him not to continue with these guys in the chase, the tuk-tuk chase that's coming on.
Good. Hold on to these, man. Keep you in curry for a few weeks.
I love his smile.
So on.
There we go, guys. Well, that is the Faberge egg betting scene between Kamal Khan and James Bond dissected. Hope you've enjoyed that. Please, guys, if you haven't, drop a like button. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button, I should say. And also think about sharing this with your friends on Facebook and other James Bond groups you may be in on Facebook, etc. Also, come and join us on Facebook at James Bond Fans with Love group. So James Bond Fans with Love. Make sure you answer the questions. Also, do leave your comment. Let me know what you thought of this dissection. And more importantly, let me know what James Bond scene you want me to dissect next. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, guys, keep on bonding and say hi to your mum for me.